Okay guys, today I'm going to be showing you how to make a site plan like this one from OSM data using the Rhino and the Elk Grasshopper plugin. So yeah, you can start to generate site models like this, or the basis of one. So yeah, let's get into it. The first thing we're going to want to do today is just go and install the Elk plugin for Grasshopper. So just navigate to Food for Rhino, just that top result there. Open that up. Yeah, Food for Rhino is great. It has a bunch of other plugins for Grasshopper and Rhino, but just today we're just going to be using this Elk one. So open that up, and here we can see it's only available for Windows. But I'm going to went ahead and scroll down and just download the latest version of that available. Hopefully that's a 2016. Once that's done, we're going to go to our downloads folder and extract. Click on that folder and extract that zip file. And just while that's complete, I'm just going to go and open up Rhino and then open Grasshopper. Those files. Yep, perfect. And then go into Grasshopper and just go File, Special Folders, Components. And that's going to open up the folder where all of the Grasshopper plugins are stored. And you can see I've already got Elk in there, but if you haven't, you're just going to want to go ahead and cut and paste that into that folder. And then the next time you relaunch Rhino, you're going to have that Elk plugin installed, and we can go from there. Okay, so the next step in the process will just be downloading that OSM data from OpenStreetMaps so we can put into our Elk plugin to start to generate a bit of our 3D model. So just go ahead and open up, or type in OSM in your search engine and open that up. Navigate to the area you want. I was already over it, luckily enough, the Swinburne campus, and go on to export, and that'll just export all the data that's visible in your viewfinder. And just going into our downloads folder, I can see, yeah, that's downloaded there. And so the next step will be to open that up in the Elk plugin. Okay, so now we've gone and booted up Rhino, and we're going to start by linking in that OSM data that we've just installed from OpenStreetMaps. So in Grasshopper, we're just going to create a file path component, and we're going to go right click on that and select one existing file and link in to our OSM data we've just installed. So that's now linked into that. Next, we're going to open up the extras panel and see here we've got our Elk plugin now installed. And today we're just going to be using the location and OSM data reader components. So we're going to want to start by linking our file path, which contains now, or is linked to that OSM data, and then referencing that to the location component of the Elk plugin, which can then break down and pull out a bunch of different data points from that. For the sake of our exercise, we're only going to be using these top two, and these are going to be plugging into the OSM data reader. You can see here we've got a series of points, which is the vertices or the vertexes at which our building properties lie. But right now these are just existing in isolation, but we really want to be starting to make some 3D geometry, and there's a few things we can do here and to start to build up our map. And so the first thing we're going to want to do is create 3D buildings, and there we go. So yeah, it's a pretty nifty plugin. It's already sort of made sense of that. Because this data is open source, it doesn't look like it's got a complete picture, but you can see this is the Swinburne University campus, and it's done a pretty good job of sort of creating a 3D geometry there. Some of these are still 2D, but we can go and manually extrude those later. And so we've got our building data, but there's a few more data pieces we might want to put into our data set. And so we can just start by opening up a few more of those OSM data components, and I'm just going to create three more of those. And if we right click on there, we can see that currently it's been set to building. And if we hit that drop down, we can see we can extract all these different levels of OSM data. So for the sake of this exercise, I'm going to be wanting to extract the waterway for that component. The highway, you can see which our main roads are. And the railway, so we've got that rail line going straight through our building. And we're just going to want to, again, link all of those to the relevant nodes. And as we can see, not much has happened except it's created a bunch of these vertices. And so what you actually have to do for this component, unlike the building block, is create a polyline component. And just link that. Create a few more of those. Yeah, and so now we can see that we've got, you know, our what was that one again? Yeah, our polylines perfecting the waterways, our road or highway network, as well as the railway lines there. You can see this is also reflecting the train line. Okay, so the next thing we're going to want to do is just offset a few of these curves. If we zoom in on some of these highways, we notice that they're just lines, not actually offset as roads and train lines and waterways typically are. And so what we're going to do is just start by using the offset command, or offset curve. Yep, so that one, and we'll just be plugging our curve into that. You can see that is offsetting, but only by a distance of 1. So just remembering we're in millimeters, I'm just going to go and make 5,000, equates to 5 meters, and give that to distance. Now we can see that's as offsetting for a distance of 5 meters. But we actually want it to offset on both sides, so the next thing we're going to do is use a flip curve command. Holding shift, just plug that into the curves, and now we see it's offset on both sides. We don't really want this line in the middle, so just going to go ahead and turn the preview for that off. And then yeah, we've got our roads offset pretty nicely then. You might want to go ahead and do this for those other applications as well, for the waterway and rail network. And so yeah, again, it's just plugging in the curves. The appropriate places. Whoops, that's better. And then yeah, you can go offset these as much as you feel appropriate. So the final part of this exercise, we're just going to go ahead and bake in these lines and buildings we've modeled in Grasshopper. Then I'm going to show you how to make a quick figure ground map so we can actually present this site map in a meaningful way. So we're just going to go and select all the geometry that is relevant to us. So that's the roads we've offset as well as the buildings, and we just go right click in Grasshopper and press bake. Now we no longer need our Grasshopper script, we can close that for the time being. This is looking pretty good, I'm fairly happy with that. Something we might want to get rid of is all these points, which is sort of messing up our model. So if we just use the cell select point command, we can grab all of those and just hit delete. And so what I want to do is create a figure ground map of the site. This isn't too presentable at the moment, but we can fix that. So we're right clicking on our view and going down to display options. we have here our display modes. Clicking on those and choosing one that we want to replicate. I might select the Arctic mode. We can make a copy of that and rename that to whatever we want. I might just call that figure ground map. Press OK, and then just make sure that we're set to that. Figure ground map, perfect. So yeah, it's a bit hard to read at present, so we're going to have to modify a few of the display settings. So if we go back into, right click on the view, scroll back down to display options, locate the view we've just created, figure ground map, and we might just start by changing the background color to be something different from the object. So I'm just going to make that black. Yeah, we can see that that's starting to look a lot better now, a lot more readable. Another thing we might want to do is just highlight the roads in a different color. Right now it looks like they're in black, so we're just going to go and click on the drop down of objects, select curves, change it from use colors object because it's set on a black layer at present. That's why it's showing up as the same as the background. To use single color, and then we can choose to make that whatever we want. We can make that red so it looks a bit crazy. I might just go ahead and make that white. Nice. And then yeah, you can make that as thick or as thin as you want. I think that looks better, a little bit thinner. And yeah, this is starting to look pretty good. The only other thing I might change is just fixing some of these shadows, just to make it a really simple, clean map. And we can do that by just going into shadows, turning those off, and clicking OK. And yeah, you can see it hasn't filled in all the buildings. As I said, this is an open source software, OSM, so it's not always complete, but I mean, that's looking pretty good to me. Definitely a good basis for a site model, and you know, can pull site plans and things like that from this. But anyway, that's all for now. Thanks a lot.